What's up everybody, David here, and you're probably wondering why I'm not at my normal filming location, and that's just because I don't feel like it. Just kidding. I thought I would switch it up today and just go somewhere else. Because today, I want to rap to you for a minute. I want to give you some advice on something that I encountered when I was really getting into engineering and mixing and mastering music. And that was hearing the difference in different plugins and just types of hardware and compressors and equalizers and things like that. Let me give you an example on exactly what I mean. So when I was looking into my favorite mixers and engineers and looking to see what they were doing, I would listen to them mix a song and watch them mix a song, and they would say things like, this EQ is great for vocals, or this compressor is great for snare drums or kick drums or guitars or whatever it may be. And I would hear that and be like, oh, badass, sweet. So I would get that compressor and I would use it on that snare drum because they said it sounded good, because they said that was their go-to. But in reality, being completely honest, I couldn't hear the difference. In my mind, I was just like, what's the difference? It lowers the volume. Like, how different is it really gonna sound? I just didn't get it. And that was kind of discouraging for me because, I mean, you have these people that you look up to mixing-wise and you want to be at their level one day. And here they are telling you, oh, this compressor sounds completely different than this one, and I couldn't hear it. It kind of made me doubt myself and think, okay, if I can't hear something this simple, then what am I doing here? Like, I must not even be any good at it. So I set out to fix that problem. I set out to learn as much as I can and to learn to make decisions on my own in a mix rather than relying on what somebody else told me. So today I'm going to share with you guys what I did in 3 steps. So 3 things that can help you out if you find yourself in that same situation. First step is to learn about what you're working with. So learn the tools. So I'm going to use compression a lot in these examples because that was a big one for me. That was one I just could not wrap my head around, and I couldn't hear as well as I wanted to. So what I mean by that is learn about how they work, learn about what's happening inside of the compressor, the attack, the threshold, release, whatever it may be, and not only that, but educate yourself on the different types of compressors or EQs or reverb or whatever you're working with. For example, compressor-wise, there is a type of compressor that basically uses light inside of it. There's a light bulb to measure the intensity or the gain of the signal, and that decides when the compressor kicks in. Without going into too much detail, these are kind of known to be sluggish, so that would not be your go-to if you were using a transient heavy signal such as drums. Not saying that you can't do that, but knowing this stuff kind of guides you in the right direction based on the sound you're working with and the goal that you have in mind. This is the first step to making your own decisions when it comes to your mix and not just doing what everyone else tells you to do. Because the fact of the matter is, it might sound good on their recordings, but you don't have their recordings. You have your own stuff, so you need to take your own source into account and not theirs. The second step I did was to read the manual when you buy a new plugin. It sounds insanely simple, but I know we all do it. I'm still guilty of it. I get a new plugin and I'm so excited I just blow right past the manual and I just start using it. When in reality, you're kind of missing a lot of detailed information and really useful information in that manual when you don't read it. A lot of plugins, no matter what they are, maybe have hidden features. A lot of settings when used in conjunction with another knob affect a different knob, and that's stuff that's inside of the manual. Another example is that some compressors have a sweet spot and you want to hit them at that certain level to get the best performance out of it, to get the best sound, and usually that stuff is in the manual. So just read the manual so you know that you're getting the most out of the plugin, which you most likely paid for. Third step is experimenting, and I know everyone says this, but it is so unbelievably important. Somebody can tell you all day what something's going to do and how it's going to sound, but at the end of the day, I don't think you really get it until you experiment yourself and you find out for yourself. And by experimenting, I don't mean wait till you're in the middle of a mix and put a different compressor than you normally would on vocals. I mean, set aside a day to purely experiment with different types of plugins. When I was having these issues, I came home one day and I loaded up a mix that I had already done, and I loaded up the vocal track. From there, I loaded about 5 different compressors onto my DAW, and I tried to match all of the settings to be as similar as possible, and I tried to match the output level to be as close as possible. Be careful with output because that will trick your ears into thinking something is happening when really nothing's happening. So I tried to get everything as close as possible, the settings, the output level, and I just sat there and A-B'd each one. I would switch them while the recording is playing just to see if I could hear the difference. And I was very surprised because I heard a difference. I finally heard something between these compressors, which I thought always did the same thing. After I worked with vocals, I did it again with snare and kick drum and toms and guitars and acoustic guitars and violin. Just every type of instrument I had in that session, I was putting compressors on just to see how each one reacts to that type of source material. I seriously cannot tell you enough how much this opened my eyes, hearing for myself on my source material and just putting aside a day to focus on experimenting and to focus on educating myself. Ever since then, I'll be doing a mix and I'll say, you know what, this kick drum needs punch. I want that mid-range punch to it, so I know exactly what compressor I'm gonna go to. From then on, I noticed myself saying the same thing that my favorite mixer said. I would say to myself, wow, I really love this compressor on kick drums. If I want a really wet snare sound, I really love that compressor. And I had those preferences that I couldn't hear before. The whole idea is to train your own ears so that you can spot the differences. Not just because someone told you, but so you can hear it. And I'm still learning. I know damn well I'm not the best mixer or engineer you'll ever see, but you know, that's okay because I really try every day to educate myself and to progress and just get better at my craft. And once I got over that hurdle of not being able to hear differences in EQs and compressors and reverbs, I was a lot more confident and I was moving on to bigger, better things. I was learning on to some more advanced techniques, which at the end of the day is where we want to be. We all want to learn the advanced, awesome, cool stuff, but if you skip the basics and go straight to advanced stuff, you're building on a weak foundation and you're kind of doomed later on. So I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that's ever had that happen to me and that's ever encountered that hurdle. So hopefully these tips help you guys get over that problem. Hopefully they point you in the right direction, and they're not the end-all be-all. There's other ways to do this and it might not work for everybody, but this is what worked for me. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. And thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I know this isn't the normal fun videos on how to make a bass tone kick ass, but this stuff is important and we have to talk about it. So of course, do not forget to like and subscribe. There's new videos every single week and you don't want to miss any content. And as always, thank you so much for watching. My name is David and I'll see you next time.